And about 30 minutes ago came in the news break that Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar has now resigned, citing health concerns, and has said it's because of the need to follow medical advice. He sent the letter, as is the protocol, to the President, and in the letter he's asked to be immediately relieved as the Vice President of India. What really does this mean going forward? What is the process that kicks in now to choose the next Vice President? What led to Jagdeep Dhankhar taking this decision? Rajdeep Sardesai is with me here in the studio. Rajdeep, were you caught a bit by surprise by the decision taken the first day of the monsoon session, right after Mr. Dhankar was in Parliament today?
Yes, Akshita, I certainly was, as indeed were our reporters on the ground. You will recall a few weeks ago, I think Jagdeep Dhankhar was in Uttarakhand. He was to go for an official function there. When he was suddenly found that he was feeling breathless, he had to be hospitalized for a while, and there was a question mark over his health. It's not the first time. It's happened over the last 3-4 months. There have been a couple of incidents where Mr. Dhankar has had to be hospitalized. So the health concerns were genuine. The bigger question mark, Akshita, is that there's been a long gap between the previous Parliament session that ended in early April, and now we're in the third week of July. If at all Mr. Dhankar was to resign on health grounds, why did he choose the first day of the monsoon session of Parliament, which he attended this morning and conducted proceedings, to suddenly announce the decision in the evening? So there's a bit of a question mark over that. Could he have decided inter se, that's between the two sessions, to resign? And even all the other names that you're flashing on the screen, Dr. Radhakrishnan, S.T. Sharma, Venkatraman, these were all vice presidents who eventually went on to become presidents. In many cases resigned because they were then elevated to the role of president. That's not happening in this case, certainly not right away. So there will be a question mark over the timing and why on the first day of the House. If there were these health reasons and they were lingering for several months, why did Mr. Dhankar choose the first day of the monsoon session that evening to announce the decision?
Well, it's definitely sudden. The timing is something that's led to a lot of questions and eyebrows being raised over what led to Mr. Dhankar choosing today, day one of the monsoon session, to go ahead and resign. And he says effective immediately in that letter. He, of course, attributes it to poor health, and we have seen that in the last few weeks also, with Mr. Dhankar going in and out of the hospital also for brief periods. But Rajdeep, I think the question that comes up then is what happens next. And it's very early, yes, because the news break that came in was just 30 minutes ago. But besides just the process, there will be a lot of questions about the names now. Who's in contention for the post?
You know, Akshita, it's very strange how politics works. Still this morning, the big question was, Kaun banega BJP Adhyaksh? Yeah. Who will be the next BJP president? That's a question that's been lingering for several months now. Mr. Nadda's term expired actually a couple of years ago, but he was still on an extension because of the elections of 2024, then was expected to step down in December. That didn't happen. We're now in July. We don't have a new BJP president. So suddenly from Kaun banega BJP president, it's Kaun banega Up Rashtrapati. And could there be a connection? Could there be someone senior from the BJP who could now become vice president? Could that fill some of the gaps out there? Remember, the vice chairman of the Rajya Sabha is Harivansh, a former journalist turned politician who was with the Janata Dal United. He is from he was an editor of a newspaper in Jharkhand, but has a strong Bihar connection. Bihar goes to the polls a few months from now. Could it be Harivansh ji? That's one name doing the rounds. There is, of course, I think more likely someone who's been a hardcore BJP person. The BJP will look at various names. Remember, the leader of the opposition, of the ruling party, the leader of the treasury benches in the Rajya Sabha is JP Nadda himself, who is also the health minister of the country at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. Is there a governor out there who could be elevated? Remember, Mr. Dhankar himself was governor of West Bengal, from where he came on to become the vice president of the country. So it is likely to be a septuagenarian, if I may stick my neck out. But who that will be is absolutely impossible, particularly when you're dealing with the Narendra Modi government, which is known to pull out every rabbit out of the hat.
Okay, so we're also putting out right now on our screens exactly how a vice president is chosen. It could take some time. So in the interim also, you will have a lot of officials like Mr. Harivansh also step in to do the duties, particularly in Parliament, because the monsoon session, mind you, is currently underway. But Rajdeep, speaking of Jagdeep Dhankhar, what do you make of his legacy, as vice president? Would you deem it controversial? Do you think that he delivered on a lot of fronts?
Controversial. Akshita, let's call a spade, and it was controversial. How many vice presidents have had impeachment motion? The opposition trying to move an impeachment motion against him. It failed because there was a question mark over how many signatures they actually had. But a large section of the opposition felt that Mr. Dhankar was essentially acting as a mouthpiece for the government. They felt he was unfair to them. He was not a neutral umpire. On the other hand, the government was very supportive of him. They felt Mr. Dhankar was someone who strongly batted for the government, much more even than a Venkaiah Naidu, who, remember, was a former BJP president who was eventually made the vice president. There was a sense that Mr. Dhankar would often speak of the government's views on a variety of issues in different fora. And that raised controversy because there were questions, how far should a constitutional office holder go out and bat for the government? Mr. Dhankar, though, was unbothered. He went on in what he believed was his way of running the Rajya Sabha, of his way of defining the office of the vice president. But yes, he was certainly contentious, controversial, and perhaps now will miss out a chance that some thought that he could perhaps be looking at being elevated to Rashtrapati in a couple of years. That's not going to happen. And I do believe that the health reasons were genuine. Yeah. My only question mark is, why did it take so long for him to decide, or for the government to decide that maybe they need a replacement for Mr. Dhankar? So that question mark will be there. Remember, even when he was West Bengal governor, he was accused of partisanship even at the time, but he was unbothered, unflustered, and that's the way he was. He liked to he liked a joust. He was that kind of he was more a politician lawyer in that sense than even the vice president.
Very true. And, you know, from governor, he was elevated to vice president. So definitely did seem that he held a chance definitely to be elevated further then to the president. But now, of course, he's resigned. And what's interesting, the reason we keep saying that this is a sudden resignation is because even today, day one of the monsoon session, you had Vice President Dhankar there presiding over the proceedings in the Rajya Sabha and talking about the Justice Verma impeachment process. And while speaking about it, said that, you know, tomorrow we're going to be going ahead and setting up a committee in both houses. So definitely sounded like he was right in the process, definitely sounded like he'd be there for the next 24 hours, which is why there's a lot of questions about the timing and how suddenly this announcement was made. But let's thank you very much, Rajdeep, for joining us here and giving us your insights on what you think of this particular decision. Let's get your reactions now coming in to Mr. Dhankar's resignation.
View of the Constitution that he believes in may be contrary to other people's viewpoint, but he stood always by his viewpoint. So I'm sad that he's left us, you know, and I won't be seeing him in the house anymore. But for me, it's a sad occasion, and I wish him well.
That chair was always the loudest when we look at the chairman of the Honorable Vice President, that is the Speaker in the Rajya Sabha, so the upper house of the Parliament. When we talk about the tenure of Vice President, he will have to serve up to 2027. What reasons, sitting on this chair, sir, will you cite for this resignation, sir?
No. I am not going to speculate, you know, reasons as to why he has resigned. He has said that it is because of health reasons. So I don't want to speculate. But yes, I can say this, that he perhaps was one of the most proactive chairmen of the Rajya Sabha that we have seen over the years. And he would always persuade members on this side and that side to work with each other, for ultimately we work for the country. And he always...
Okay, let me bring in on this broadcast Sushmita Dev, TMC MP in the Rajya Sabha. Ma'am, thank you for joining us here in India today. I'm sure you've heard of the news of Mr. Dhankar's resignation. You've been in the Rajya Sabha. So, of course, you've been part of the proceedings where Mr. Dhankar has been the chair. What do you make of Mr. Dhankar's legacy and his sudden decision to resign?
I know, well, I did see some news that he was not keeping well, but one did not imagine that it's serious enough for him to step down. Frankly, personally, I'm surprised. I mean, you know, I thought maybe he would go on leave, recover and come back. So I hope, you know, he recovers soon and stays healthy. I mean, I wish him well.
Ma'am, were you in Parliament today for day one of the session? Were you there when Mr. Dhankar was also, you know, presiding over the proceedings?
Yes, of course. I continue to
And
be in
do
the
you-
Rajya Sabha.
Did you
I
get
have,
any indication that this was coming? Because there was a detailed
there was
conversation
absolutely
about a
no indication.
process. Yeah.
No, there was no indication of this, and there had been many ups and downs with him, because we also had, moved something in the Rajya Sabha against him. But that's part of democracy. It has nothing personal, and I hope he recovers soon from whatever his health predicament is.
Absolutely. Our wishes are definitely with Mr. Dhankar. But the Trinamool Congress, of course, has had their run-ins with Mr. Dhankar. So keeping that in mind and otherwise, Ms. Dev, how do you really look at his legacy as a Vice President, as a Rajya Sabha Chair?
Well, his legacy is he's a good orator. I have seen that outside the Parliament, he's given many, he's attended many seminars, conventions where he's spoken on constitution and judges and judiciary. At times they've been controversial, and I personally may not agree with some of his views, but those are his views. So in democracy is to accept everyone's views. And apart from that, even inside the House, yes, we've had many disagreements and many run-ins with each other. But I think that's what makes our democracy vibrant. And like I said, that he's also an eminent lawyer. And he's given several rulings. He has given several rulings in the Rajya Sabha, which will always stay as a matter of a part of the record. And as parliamentarians, we'll have to follow it.
That's the beauty of a democracy also, that you've had your disagreements, but you at the end of the day have a mutual respect also for each other. Thank you very much, Sushmita Dev, for joining us here on India Today. Members of Parliament calling in, expressing their wishes, and also saying, of course, that they wish the very best for Mr. Dhankar for whatever his next steps are. Remember that he's resigned, saying that he prioritizes his health, and keeping in mind the same, he's decided to step down immediately. Let me bring in Piyush Mishra also for more details really on the timing of the announcement. And that's what's led to a lot of questions, Piyush, about why now? Why did Mr. Dhankar choose to resign now? He has been ailing for the last few months. Unfortunately, we've been seeing how he's been in and out of hospital. But the first day of the monsoon session, he was in his usual spirits, was talking to the members of Parliament about the impeachment process of Justice Verma and so much more. And suddenly this news that he's decided to resign.
Well, certainly, Akshita, and for the welcome.
Okay, my apologies, Piyush. My apologies, Piyush, for interrupting. But Sagrika Ghosh of the Trinamool Congress, also a Rajya Sabha MP, is joining us on this broadcast. Sagrika Ghosh, were you stunned by the news that Jagdeep Dhankhar has stepped down as Vice President?
Absolutely. I'm really shocked and quite stunned to hear this. This is most unexpected. Actually, the Trinamool Congress was not in Parliament today because today is our 21 July, our Shaheed Divas. So we were in Kolkata commemorating our Martyrs' Day, which is a very important annual function for us. So we have just reconvened in New Delhi, and we are all very shocked and very stunned to hear this news. I know that the chairman had been not been keeping well, and I'm sorry that he will no longer be presiding over the House.
Okay, Sagrika Ghosh, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. So clearly the messages, and it's very clear, they had differences, yes. And, the Trinamool Congress MPs had more than a few run-ins with Mr. Dhankar, but that's all kept aside now at this time when Mr. Dhankar has resigned, citing health reasons. Akhilesh Pratap Singh of the Congress is also with us on this broadcast. Mr. Akhilesh Pratap Singh, what do you have to say about the fact that Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar has decided to step down as Vice President?
Till 5:45, I was there in his office, और केवल मैं नहीं बल्कि प्रमोद तिवारी जी, जयराम रमेश जी, सब हम लोग थे साथ में. तो तबीयत की तो ऐसी कोई बात नहीं थी. जस्टिस वर्मा का इम्पीचमेंट वाले ये पे कुछ देर बात होती रही, और ये तो शॉकिंग है कि ऐसे सिचुएशन में इतने अच्छे व्यक्ति, इस एकदम स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड बात करने वाले, हम लोगों के लिए भी शॉकिंग है, सबके लिए शॉकिंग है।
बिल्कुल। Akhilesh Pratap Singh ji, thank you for joining us. So you heard there from most of the Rajya Sabha MPs, leaders who've interacted with Jagdeep Dhankhar, that this has come as an absolute shock and a jolt for them out of the blue. Because while Mr. Dhankar, yes, was ailing, there was no hint whatsoever that he was looking to step aside. There was no hint whatsoever that he would be resigning effective immediately, as he puts it in that letter. Taking this back across to Piyush. Piyush, my apologies for interrupting you earlier. Go ahead.
Well, Akshita, for the benefit of our viewers, let us also focus on the point about the today's proceedings, today's meetings those took place. At one side, we already were witnessing what was happening in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, but backdoor, we were also seeing how a series of meetings took place. We also saw Kiran Rijiju, Arjuna Meghwal, L. Murugan, they all meeting Home Minister Amit Shah, and then we also saw Home Minister Amit Shah, JP Nadda holding meeting. After that, Rajnath Singh was also part of different meetings. So multiple meetings have taken place throughout the day, and till 8 p.m. Till 8 p.m., we saw all leaders, top leaders of the government were there in the Parliament House, and they were holding multiple deliberations. And after that, a couple of minutes back, we are now hearing as to how Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar has put down his papers. But also, it's important to highlight that he has resigned on health grounds. And in the last few days, we were also seeing how he was in and out of the hospital. He also fell ill during his last visit to the state of Uttarakhand. We were also talking to various people in his office, and they were also telling us as to how Jagdeep Dhankhar, feels discomfort if he sits for more than 2 to 3 hours on the chair. So, looking at that, he has now put down his papers. But Narendra Modi government is the government which is known for throwing surprises. And now when Jagdeep Dhankhar has resigned as the Vice President of India, we will see a new, fresh, veteran face from the BJP. And now there's a process which will be followed. Now this letter has been sent to the President of India. After she accepts it, the process for the election of new Vice President of India will begin. But meanwhile, we already know that the Parliament session is there, and meanwhile the election of Vice President takes place. We can expect the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Harivansh Singh, to take over as the chair of Rajya Sabha Chairman. Meanwhile, the proceedings will also continue. But yes, there's a lengthy process of electing Vice President. A lot of names will be deliberated upon. Dates will be announced. Nominations will be filed, and then we will see the election of Vice President of India.
Piyush, what are your sources telling you? Piyush, what are your government sources telling you? Are they taken aback? Have they also been caught by surprise by this decision by Mr. Dhankar, or was there some communication given to them that, this is coming?
Well, it is very important to highlight that in Modi government, all decisions are taken after a lot of deliberations and discussions. And certainly, the decision of Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar putting down his paper has also been taken after multiple deliberations. And most likely, the government would have also finalized on the name of next phase who is going to become the Vice President of India. And remember that we are already hearing the talks of complete change in the Narendra Modi government, and for that new faces will be given, young faces will be given the opportunity. And looking at that, we will also see most likely we will also see the cabinet reshuffle, and that will take place after the election of BJP's national president. So after Jagdeep Dhankhar now put down his paper, we can expect other processes also to be followed. Remember that a lot of names are there already in fray. Senior leaders are there in the Modi government who can take the space, who can take the place of Vice President of India. And there will be complete change. That's what the talks are also going on. But it is also important to highlight that the decision of Jagdeep Dhankhar putting down his paper has been taken on his health grounds. He has sent out the official letter to the President of India, and after that letter is accepted, we will see a vacant post of Vice President of India. After that, a lot of processes will be followed for the election of new Vice President.
So usually the process is that even if the Vice President chooses to step down, he remains the Vice President till the next VP is chosen, till that process is completed. But in this particular case, Dhankar has also said to go ahead and relieve him immediately. immediately. And that he's mentioned specifically in his letter. Because of health reasons, he goes ahead and says, in accordance with Article 67A of the Constitution, I hereby resign as Vice President of India, effective immediately. There's a huge churn that's expected because now you have the Vice President's post that's vacant. There have already been all of these questions over who will be the BJP President. Piyush tells us in all likelihood we could also be seeing a cabinet reshuffle happening very, very soon. So there's going to be a whole lot of churn, a lot of names perhaps moving around, musical chairs essentially that will be played out in the power centers of the national capital, if you will. But right now, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar, and the reason I refer to him as VP Dhankar is because now we're awaiting that communication from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The President's office has to formally accept the resignation, and that's when, of course, Dhankar will step aside. But come tomorrow, Piyush, day 2 of the monsoon session, considering that Dhankar has dropped this resignation bomb right after day 1 of the monsoon session, what happens tomorrow in Parliament? You know, is there going to be a lot of suspense over who the chair will be, or is that smoothed out by clear protocol that's established?
Well, no doubt, Akshita, tomorrow leaders from all the political parties are going to talk about this. They are going to focus on other names. So they will be discussing as to what is the reason why Jagdeep Dhankhar has to put down his paper when he was already, running the House very smoothly. He was looking fit and fine on the first day of House. And what led to his resignation? A lot of discussions will take place, but ultimately the chair has to be there. On that particular chair, a person will sit who is going to also conduct the proceedings of House. So sources are suggesting that most likely the deputy leader of Rajya Sabha, Harivansh, will be sitting on the chair, but that depends on as to what happens tomorrow, what decision the government is going to take, what decision Jagdeep Dhankhar is going to take, but everything depends on 11 a.m. tomorrow when the proceedings of Rajya Sabha again resumes. But tomorrow all political parties are going to discuss upon this. So what was the reason? Is the held down the only reason of Dhankar putting down his paper? Is there going to be a lot of churn in Modi cabinet? So all these things will certainly be discussed. But according to the norm, we will see that the further decision will be taken only after the final acceptance by the President of India, and after she accepts it, the other processes will be followed. And what is also important to highlight that after the election of a new Vice President, he or she will be elected for the full 5 term. There are still a few years remaining of Dhankar's term, but the new Vice President will be completing his full five term. Before that, a lot of processes will also be followed.
You know, it's been a very, very sudden announcement that none of us really expected, came completely out of the blue. But the question that will be asked is whether this was sudden for Mr. Dhankar too. Because you look at the sequence of events or what happened through the evening. At about 6 p.m., you had Dhankar also as Rajya Sabha Chair meeting with several of the opposition members. That was at 6 p.m. 3 hours later, he's resigned, effective immediately. In Parliament, on day 1 of the monsoon session, he chose not just to attend, but to preside over proceedings over the impeachment process of Justice Verma, which is an ongoing process, very clearly. And if today there were developments, there was a clear mention of what would happen tomorrow, to which Mr. Dhankar said, we will go ahead and ensure a committee is formed. So the messaging almost seemed like Mr. Dhankar expected he would very much be there tomorrow on day 2 of the monsoon session, for taking those steps forward as far as the impeachment proceedings go. And that's what leads us to question about whether this wasn't just a sudden announcement, a sudden resignation for us, but for Mr. Dhankar too. Many, many questions. Let's see if we get answers to those in the next 24 hours. But tomorrow, in the monsoon session of Parliament, where we're familiar with seeing Mr. Dhankar sitting as the Rajya Sabha Chair, you will instead have Mr. Harivansh Singh seated there, with Dhankar stepping down as the Vice President, effective immediately on health grounds.